Hello everybody. Today I introduce the first content video of the Mistress of Philosophy, and it's a topic all of you will love: Indian philosophy. So the first thing that hits your head when we talk of Indian philosophy is something like the Bhagavad Gita or the great Upanishads, and then Indian philosophy is the greatest philosophy in the world. I don't want to go there at all. I want to instead ask a political question. Why are we Indian philosophy as much as we would be Chinese philosophy or Japanese philosophy if we were living in Japan or China, or African philosophy if we were living in Africa, though rightfully we should say Ethiopian philosophy, Nigerian philosophy, Egyptian philosophy, and not just African philosophy, as if Africa is this huge monolith of a continent, which is again a problem. I'm sure they're addressing it, but let's come back to Indian philosophy. When I teach Indian philosophy, I'm very clear. I'm not teaching Western philosophy. So I define myself by not teaching Western philosophy and teaching a different philosophy. In which case, if I look at what Western philosophy is, it is basically a set of thinkers and a community of thinkers and philosophers from certain kinds of traditions, say the Greek tradition, the continental tradition, analytic tradition of Britain or Germany or Greek or American. I don't find Spanish philosophy, for instance, or Italian philosophy, but it's all any of the philosophers who work in that area come from the Western philosophy. So my question is, what is the West for us? It's probably because Western philosophy is philosophy. They got to define the discipline and teach the discipline in the beginning. And we followed, trying to fit ourselves inside an already constructed paradigm of disciplines. And therefore, we scurried around trying to find out what will fit. So our notion of Indian philosophy is the philosophy that we think will fit the philosophy bracket of Western philosophy. In that sense, I believe Indian philosophy is a post-colonial construct. It's a construct of people trying to understand their own sense of what it is to be a philosopher and then match up traditional ways of thinking to what is laid down as philosophy. You can always say, oh no, our Indian philosophy is great and we don't need anybody's stamp of approval to call it philosophy. We call it darshana. We are about moksha. We are about this great tradition of teachers and sages. But then what we are doing is philosophy. If philosophy is about thinking and about reasoning and analyzing, Indian philosophers are doing this. And what about me? I'm a modern person. I've been educated in English. I pretty much teach perhaps the same kind of curriculum that my colleague in an American university would teach. But I also teach texts like the Bhagavad Gita or the Nyaya Sutra or the Yoga Sutra. So what philosophy am I doing? What about the philosophy I write? Is that Indian or Western? Because I just finished a paper on liberation theology and gender. Is that Western philosophy? No, because I've written about Akka Mahadevi and her battle with liberation theology. Of her time, it doesn't even fall under the Christian tradition. It comes into the Vachana tradition of a very small regional philosophy of Karnataka. So my question again is, why do we call ourselves Indian philosophers? And for me, the question has two parts. One is the kind of ideas we have about philosophy itself because of our training, because of the way we are taught the philosophy in our educational systems. And the second is a deeply political one. And till we meet the next time, I'd like you to reflect a bit on both these traditions. That's all for today, and see you next time.